Excuse me, I wouldn't go through the bush there if I were you.
And why should I listen to you?
There are wild animals, hippos and leopards to be precise.
Nonsense. The zookeepers wouldn't allow their animals to walk free.
r/entitled parents. Our first story we'll be reading today, entitled Mother Believes Hurricane is No Excuse for Lack of Service, from user NefDaddy. After that, entitled Parent Stupidity, from user Degorlog Master. And then we'll be finishing up with entitled Sibling, Little Sister from Heck thinks I'm obligated to listen to and act upon her advice, from user Yatsind Engel. Thank you so much to our authors for letting us read your stories. And if you're an author who would like to hear your stories on the channel, please submit them to the r/Mr. Reddit subreddit. And welcome to the newest members of the Re-Army, Julian, Beast Blood, and Galaxy. And if you're new, join the Re-Army by subscribing for new stories from Reddit every single day. Entitled Mother Believes Hurricane is No Excuse for Lack of Service. Hi all. So this is my first time posting on here, and to be honest, I don't post a lot in general, so I would just like to start to apologize if my format isn't up to par with the quality you are used to. Anywho, let's get into it. A little background. So I work for one of the big internet service providers here in the US, taking calls in regards to issues with internet and phone. Throughout my time with this company, we will just use ISP going forward, I have unsurprisingly encountered many entitled people over the phone. However, some truly do tend to rise above the others. To get you a setting for this one, this occurred last year during Hurricane Florence that swept through South Carolina. Now, I may have been naive at the time, but I figured that during the storm, we wouldn't get many calls from people who were actually in path of the storm, rather those more on the outskirts still affected by it. However, to my surprise, the vast majority were those in the storm as it was landing. This story is one of those calls. It being a year ago, the exact dialogue is a bit hazy, but it essentially went like this. Hello, thank you for calling us. My name is NefDaddy. How may I assist you today?
Yes, I am calling because all my services are out. What the heck kind of business are you running?
I'm terribly sorry to hear that. We definitely want to get this resolved for you as soon as possible. What's your address so I can look you up on your account? Entitled Mom then gives me her address, and I instantly know it is due to the storm that is literally just landing on the coast. I look up the account just to confirm, and indeed, they are in an outage. Well, ma'am, it seems to be you are in an outage due to the hurricane that is going on.
I don't care about your excuses. I just want my crap fixed now. My babies need something to do to keep their mind off of what's going on outside.
I am dumbfounded by what she is saying. Ma'am, there is a hurricane going through your area as we speak. With the damages it is causing, we do expect loss of service. I am sorry that this is happening, but there is nothing we can do right now.
Bull crap! You need to send someone out here, right now!
Excuse me, are you asking us to send someone out to your home during the hurricane?
Don't make me repeat myself. My babies need their internet and TV to work. What are we supposed to do during this?
Well, ma'am, we are not sending someone out to you. There is a state emergency, and people were supposed to evacuate. We will not be sending someone into your area until the storm has passed.
We already did evacuate. This is our second home, and is more inland.
So at this point, I am thinking I had looked up the wrong account, even though she had given me that address, so I asked for the other address. Her second home is right on the shore, and the one she is staying in is only 30 minutes inland. Ma'am, I see that you are only 30 minutes from the shore. This is still an area we expected to be more than likely out since the hurricane was going to be hitting your area. Once again, we cannot and will not be sending someone out until after the storm passes. There is a hurricane. I heard silence for a moment on the other side, thinking I had finally gotten my point across. However, entitled Mom said the most entitled and honestly dumbest thing I have ever heard.
Well, there may be a hurricane going on, but that is not my problem. That is your problem, and you need to send someone out here right now. If you will not send someone out, I will talk to your supervisor.
At this point, I had had enough. Plus, she said the magic words. I gladly tell her I will get someone on the line so they can talk further. I get the call to someone in my leadership team, and lo and behold, we didn't send out some poor guy to fix her services in the middle of 100-mile-per-hour winds. Anywho, that is just one of many. Anybody who actually stuck it out to the end appreciate it. I know this isn't as juicy as some of the others on here, but I thought I'd give a go at contributing. If you liked this, let me know. My coworkers and I have many other stories. Next we've got Entitled Parents' Stupidity. Hello there. I've been watching your videos, along with other YouTubers like more who do these. To be honest, when I first read about them, I was like, no, these kinds of people can't be real. It's too stupid. But boy, was I wrong. I had an encounter recently, and I wasn't too sure who to post to first, but then I remembered you did the funny and entertaining voices. So before I start, I'd like to point out that I am a South African. Yes, I know. South Africa has internet? How is that possible? So my spelling will be different, so don't attack me for that. It's like how Americans and British say one word, but pronounce it differently. Also, this took place a few days ago, so let's meet the cast. We've got me, typical young guy doing what he does casually. We've got the entitled parent and the entitled kid. So here's the backstory. Because I'm in a country most of you haven't been to, I stay in a town that you will all find impossible to pronounce if you see the name. The big thing about this small town I live in is that it's on the doorstep to one of the most famous game reserves in Africa, the Kruger National Park. Let's call it KNP so you don't have to say the name. It's long. Anyways, I'm busy doing my early evening jogs when I see this woman and her kid, about 10 or 12, trying to enter the bush through one of the many paths. Because my town borders the park, there are the occasional animals that get out. We have about 2 to 3 hippos roaming my area at night, and 5 leopards in the bushes around the town. So seeing this, I rush up to them and warn them about the danger. It's almost 6 p.m., and it gets dark around this time of the year. June equals winter. Also, I have no idea what a real Karen looks like, or what the
I wish to speak to your manager
haircut looks like. So I guess try and imagine that in your head, because she sure as heck acted like one. Excuse me? I wouldn't go through the bush there if I were you. I say this politely and slowly, just in case she didn't speak English.
And why should I listen to you, you stupid brat?
Yes, she said that. I'm 25, and I know I look like I'm between 16 and 18. My secret is that I discovered the elixir of life, the fountain of youth. It's called shaving and looking after yourself. Because I know this area. I've been living in the town for most of my life. It's not safe or advisable to go through there, even if it's a shortcut.
Why? Because you're going to mug and attack us like every non-American does in Africa?
What that kid said was disturbing. I don't know what movies portray Africa as that bad, but South Africa is the most modern and developed country in all of Africa, even if we are still a developing country.
Yes, what my darling said is true. Are you going to call your stupid friends to assault us?
My God, these people are stupid. What gives them the right to insult me when I'm trying to make them aware of the danger? Still bothers me. No, that's not the reason. This town is not exactly safe at night. We have the park like 5 minutes away from here, and there are wild animals. Hippos and leopards, to be precise.
Nonsense. The zookeepers wouldn't allow their animals to walk free. You're lying.
I facepalmed at this. This woman was stupid. Here's a fun fact, my non-African friends. This park is not a zoo. England, not the UK, just England, can fit inside the park, and the animals roam free to do as they please. There are camps that are enclosed so people can spend time there, but animals are free. Ma'am, that's false. The closest zoo to here is a 5 to 6 hour drive away. This is a game reserve, conservation reserve. Like Kenya and Tanzania in Central Africa have the Serengeti, we have the KNP. There are fences between us and the animals, but those don't keep them out all the time. Years ago, a person was attacked and eaten by a lion not far from where we are. I'm asking you to not go through there since it's not safe. Hippos and leopards are nocturnal animals, and hippos have hurt more people than any other animal in Africa.
Whatever, you lying piece of trash. We are more superior because you're African and we're not. We do things our way, even in other countries. You should show us respect and worship the ground we walk on. In fact, If it were not for superior people like me, you wouldn't have those clothes on your back, or these nice towns you live in. Our money supports your pathetic country. We built everything for you.
I am shocked. Even now, typing this, I am shocked. This woman was so entitled, it was pathetic. And she is also stupid. People like her build the cities and towns in South Africa? Obviously, wherever she came from didn't do history on South Africa. Not that I blame that, but South Africa had a dark history with the colonial rule and the apartheid regime. People like her sure as heck did not build anything in Africa. So I basically turned around and left them, not wanting to get involved in their stupidity anymore. As this happened, I felt something collide with the back of my head and see that the kid was laughing. A marula fruit in his hand while the other that hit me was rolling on the ground near my feet. So on my way back from my jog, I see the two of them sitting on the road, looking like Satan had cursed them. Their faces were as white as paper, and judging from the bad smell, the entitled kid most probably soiled himself. Upon spotting me, the entitled mom gave me a sour look.
You! I will sue you for this. How dare you set that creature on us? You traumatized me and my precious angel.
She was screaming this at the top of her lungs. I found this amusing. In my mind, I imagined her growing an extra head that began shouting. Now, most of you reading this will think I'm making up this story just to get views. I don't blame you, but one thing about me is that I'm laid back, and if there are stupid people around, which I am almost constantly surrounded by, I adapt. Now, as I was about to say some smart aleck comeback, I noticed something not that far behind the fools in the bush. It wasn't fully dark, so I could definitely see that a hippo bull was slowly making its way towards us. Now, my heart skipped a beat. I suggest you both shut up and run. And like that, I turned around and began sprinting my fastest down the road. Hippos, especially the males, are easily provoked from loud sounds like the entitled mom's screeching. And another thing, hippos are fast. They might look slow and fat, but those animals can easily outrun the fastest athletes in the world. I've had a few close encounters with them at night, and at one point I was forced to climb a tree because I know I can't outrun them. I heard the entitled mom and her son both scream when they saw why I ran, so I'm gonna guess they saw it and also ran for it, which is fine for me. It saved me from the outbursts of a stupid entitled woman and her demon spawn. So here's a fun fact for all of you non-Africans when you visit South Africa, especially areas near the KNP. Don't assume you have more rights than others. You're in the wild, so animals have more rights than you. Listen to people who warn you. Don't go walking around dusk or night if you're not from the area, and don't, I mean don't, enter the bush after 4 p.m. Even if it's a shortcut and there are paths. These animals are wild and not cuddly like their fellow zoo inmates. These animals can hurt you if provoked enough, especially hippos. Well, that's it for my first post here on Reddit, and I hope you had a good laugh with my story. And like I said, I'm South African, so my English will be completely different than English used in America or the UK. Cheers, everyone. Edit. Also, feel free to ask me for more stories. I may not have any more entitled parent stories to tell from South Africa, but there are a lot of stories I have from South Africa that will make you laugh. The only other entitled stories I have are when I was in France for a few weeks. And our final story of the day, entitled Sibling, Little Sister from Heck thinks I'm obligated to listen to and act upon her advice. Context, background. At age 14, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. At the time, it wasn't considered part of the autism spectrum, but was thought to be a separate but related condition. In 2013, it officially became a spectrum disorder. I also have both generalized and social anxiety disorders. This story takes place in 2015. We had finished a late breakfast with my mom, my stepfather, some family friends, my sister, and myself. The story. It starts politely enough. Little sister approaches me after I'm done cleaning up the dishes and says,
Hey, have you ever considered going to something like Otakon? I have several geeky autistic friends, and it's really helped them out with it.
Otakon, for those unaware, is a huge anime convention in Baltimore. One of my exes went there frequently. I have no idea if he still does, though. I am absolutely a huge sci-fi fantasy geek, and I do have several anime I adore, though I'm not necessarily a fan of the entire medium of anime. I am, however, a fan of great storytelling and fantastic characters, and I'll consume anything that has those things, regardless of medium. I actually take a moment to consider the idea. I know she's trying to be helpful in her own way. She's been trying to mend fences with me for a while now. After thinking about it for a moment, I reply, truthfully, well, I'm happy it's had a good impact on your friends, and I appreciate the suggestion, but I'm afraid that it won't have the same effect on me. Crowds make me feel really claustrophobic, and all of the people noise would probably send me into sensory overload, meltdown territory. If you're not familiar with the specifics, autism usually comes with sensory processing issues, though the details vary from person to person. My greatest difficulties are, in order of severity, in my senses of smell and taste, closely followed by hearing, then touch. Specifically, I am strongly adverse to sudden, loud noises such as thunder and discordant noises like lots of people chattering all at once, or the sound of a bunch of car tires driving over asphalt all at once, among others. Meltdowns happen when we're so overwhelmed by what's happening around us that we just kind of mentally check out of reality for a bit. A lot of people who don't realize that the person having the meltdown is on the spectrum mistake it for an ordinary temper tantrum. A lot of people who don't realize that the person having the meltdown is on the spectrum mistake it for an ordinary temper tantrum. For the record, it isn't. It can be messy, yes, but is manageable if you know the autistic person well enough to be familiar with what works to calm them down. Anyway, all of this is said calmly, respectfully, kindly, and gently. I'm not angry. Neither am I rude or dismissive. To see little sister's reaction, though, you would have thought I was all of those things. I start to walk towards the rear stair, and little sister follows me.
But it helped my friends, so it'll help you too,
She insists. My temper starts to flare a bit, but I manage to keep it in check. I turn to face her again and explain. I am not your friends. The autistic community has a saying. If you've met one autistic person, you have met one autistic person. Meaning, the condition manifests itself differently in every individual who has it. I'm happy that convention has helped your friends cope with their symptoms, but just because I'm also on the spectrum doesn't mean what worked for them will work for me. Now, little sister isn't exactly creative with her rebuttals. She tends to repeat the same things over and over again and expects you to change your mind on that basis alone. Classic argumentum ad nauseum fallacy. She repeats her argument, and this time I'm unable to keep my temper leashed. I reply rather snappishly. I've said no twice already. You should have backed off after the first no and respected my boundaries. For the last time, I am not interested. I know my own limits, and going to a convention would put me well past them. Drop it. Mom comes to see what all the commotion's about, and little sister starts whining to her about me not following her advice. Mom tells her the same thing I did. She's not interested. Respect her boundaries and leave it be. The next thing little sister says is equally infuriating and baffling.
But Mom, she's invalidating my friend's life experiences.
I whirl back around, head back down the stairs. I was halfway up them, heading back to my room. But before I can say anything, Mom tells me to go up to my room. She'll handle it. I never got to give little sister a talking to about what invalidating someone's lived experiences actually looks like. But for the sake of actually getting that rant off my chest, here is what I would have said. No, I'm not. I never said anything like, no, it didn't help your friends. That's not how autism works. Or, yeah, right, I doubt they're really autistic. That would have been me invalidating their experiences. You, on the other hand, are invalidating mine. Left, right, up, down, and all directions in between by trying to insist I don't know my own limits, all of which I have learned about through my lived experiences, dealing with similar situations in the past. Then I would have flipped her off and returned to my hermitage in my room. Little sister and I had another argument relating to my autism later, which is when she basically confirmed her staggering levels of ignorance about it to me. I don't recall what we were fighting about leading up to this moment, other than me trying to drill it into her head that people who do not have a spectrum condition will never be able to fully comprehend what it's like to have one, even if they're making an honest, genuine, concerted effort to do so. They may be able to imagine it pretty accurately, but they will never know it in truth. She said something along the lines of,
Besides, my boyfriend's basically Asperger's himself, so I know what it's like.
My BS senses are tingling at this point, so I ask, has he actually been diagnosed with Asperger's?
Well, no, but he has the same traits.
Cue a skeptical arched eyebrow from me. Like?
He's really smart.
Side note, high intelligence is not part of the diagnostic criteria for any autistic spectrum disorder. It's just a prevalent trait among the autistic community, especially with regards to those like myself with FHA, Asperger's. To my knowledge, at any rate, please feel free to correct me if I'm mistaken, but cite your source, please. Again, equal parts infuriating and facepalm inducing for me. There's a heck of a lot more to Asperger's than high intelligence, and the fact you think your boyfriend being clever is equivalent to him having Asperger's only shows just how ignorant you actually are about it. Stop trivializing my neurology and admit that you cannot and will never fully comprehend what it's like to be autistic. Then I disengaged and went back to my room. I know little sister was trying to be helpful in the first example, but the problem is that she's never quite grasped the whole impact is more important than intent principle. She's tried to defend herself from being called out with,
But I had good intentions.
on multiple occasions, and never seems to understand why that's never earned her forgiveness. Little sister never did manage to mend fences with me. In fact, my next story, the second to last, is the tale of how little sister managed to upset me so much that I decided I wanted nothing more to do with her. And yes, said event did involve her typical sense of entitlement, along with a bit of emotional abuse to serve as the worst cherry on top in existence. Well, second to worst. I'm saving the actual worst for the finale.
Give Mr. Reddit a thumbs up on this video, or I'm coming to your country and insulting your people.
And congratulations to our re-generals of the day, Molly English, Paul, and Fia S. That's all for now, but don't be blue. I'll be back soon with more stories for you. Remember to listen to Mr. Reddit every night, so your dreams will be wonderful like you are and bright.